Welcome back, everyone. I'm Errol Barnett at the CBS Broadcast Center. This is CBS News 24/7, and you are looking at live footage of what we believe is the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and his motorcade greeting President Trump as the U.S. president departs Air Force One after delivering a speech to the Israeli Knesset marking the momentous achievement of securing the release of all remaining living Israeli hostages held by Hamas. They are all now out and back in Israel, as well as the release of a number of Palestinian prisoners and detainees in Israel who have been sent by the busload to both the West Bank and to Gaza. This precedes a massive summit with regional and world leaders to discuss the next phase of President Trump's 20-point peace plan agreed to last week, which not only has seen an end to the ongoing conflict, but a potential lasting peace negotiated diplomatically. Watching this with us is Ramy Inocencio in our London newsroom. Ramy, we've been up for hours here covering each twist and turn of what is a momentous day for the region that has been years in the making. Help us understand the relationship between Trump and el-Sisi, but also other world leaders attending this significant summit today.
Sure, absolutely, Errol. And, you know, we're following history right now from Tel Aviv in Israel to here, Sharm El Sheikh in Egypt. And as we wait for President Trump to emerge from Air Force One, his relationship with Egypt's President el-Sisi has been one of negotiation and of pushback as well. They are co-organizing this summit of peace happening today. We're expecting more than 20 world leaders, up to something like 27 world leaders coming in for this, which basically is trying to lend credence, credibility, stabilization to Trump's 20-point peace plan. And it's not just from the Arab world and the Islamic world. You know, Egypt here, Qatar, another mediator, Turkey, Jordan, Pakistan, Indonesia, but also European leaders, France and the United Kingdom. Both governments, of course, in recent weeks have recognized a Palestinian state. Germany, Italy, Spain, Norway, also North America with Canada in the mix there. But this, again, is just to try to make sure that it's not just the phase one that we have been reporting on over the past several hours, and that the phase two tries to figure out the details, the nitty-gritty, as this timeline moves forward from what we've seen, the joyous celebration of reunions in Israel, as well as the celebrations of Palestinian detainees, up to 2,000, both in Ramallah and the West Bank, as well as in Gaza. But there are many, many hurdles to try to get through. And the fact that all these world leaders are here, this is a testament, whether you like President Trump or not, that he has been able to, if you want to say, corral everyone to this point in time and in history to lend some kind of gravitas. With that said, Errol, two important people are not going to be there. Two important parties are not going to be there. One, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and we got some back and forth earlier that, one, he wasn't going to come. This was from the Prime Minister's office yesterday. And then we heard that he was going to come today. And then he backtracked, and his spokesperson said, no, because of the holiday, Sukkot in Israel, that it wouldn't be, I suppose, appropriate to travel. In addition, Hamas has said that they are not sending anyone to this summit of peace because they are going through their interlocutors, Egypt as well as Qatar. Quite importantly, though, and also a red line for Prime Minister Netanyahu, is the presence of Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, who is in Sharm El Sheikh, and Netanyahu has said that he does not want Mahmoud Abbas to have any kind of voice there. Question is, though, who would that voice be? Because Hamas has already been sidelined in terms of that representation for at least part of the Palestinian people. So to sum it all up, many, many world leaders, and the fate of, I think we can say, phase two hangs in the balance, or the start of it over these next few hours.
Yeah, Ramy Inocencio speaking to us from London as we await President Trump exiting Air Force One to be greeted by the Egyptian president ahead of this key regional summit. The U.S. and Egypt have a close relationship. They buy military hardware from the U.S. And there we see President Trump exiting now, pointing straight ahead to the Egyptian president as he makes his way down the stairwell. One thing that jumped out to me last year while in Cairo was that this is a city going through massive development of what they describe as a new Cairo, new buildings, new roads, in addition to the old city of Cairo. And it speaks to development that they likely want to continue. I don't know if we can hear the conversation between these two gentlemen, but President Trump shaking hands with President El-Sisi now as they make a few remarks, walk down the carpet which has been laid out for the U.S. Commander-in-Chief. You can see what appear to be military honors there and some ceremonial music playing as well. And what is a remarkable moment for Donald Trump, who has been able to convene not just regional but world leaders as well, all with the shared goal of bringing an end to a conflict which has lasted more than 2 years and claimed tens of thousands of lives, and perhaps secure a foundation for peace that can result in a possible statehood for the Palestinian people. We'll continue listening in to all this and bring you more updates throughout the hour and the day.